Hey, it's Ruthie. Welcome back to the video log series for Roman Holiday. Marianne said this week we're supposed to talk about writing women, so that is what I'm going to talk about. I made notes, so if I'm looking down, it's because of my notes. Yeah. Okay, so this is a complicated subject, and I will just talk a little bit about women and romance and some of the things about it that are complicated, and then I will just let you guys chatter away about it and tell me what you think. I think that there is a way in which writing heroines particularly can be very easy, because all you have to do to write a heroine who almost everyone will like is make sure that she doesn't do or think any of the things that women are not supposed to think or do, and that she is afraid of all of the same things that I'm afraid of, but then every time she has an opportunity to butt up against that fear, then she does whatever I would be afraid to do, and it's just like no big deal. She just does it because she's courageous and she knows that's what she has to do. So, you know, it's like I could write heroines who everyone liked consistently if I just wrote heroines who were the kind of people that the paparazzi would never give a hard time to, right? Because they always dressed right and they said the right things, and you know, they never dressed like sluts and they never acted like sluts and they never had slutty thoughts, and they weren't ball busters, but they were, you know, they were assertive and they were smart, but they weren't brainy. And this is a long list, right? Because we're all familiar with this list. This is like this is the list that dogs us as women from birth at this point. I mean, I don't think even little girls are aware of these standards for how women are supposed to behave. And so the easy way to write a heroine who everyone will like is to write a heroine who doesn't break any of these rules. She's like a, I don't know, like a 17 magazine dream girl, right? And she's internalized all this stuff about you know, to talk about herself but not too much, and wear the white t-shirt and jeans because guys really like that when you're casual, but go ahead and brush on the mascara and maybe a little bit of lipstick so she doesn't look too pale, and do a ponytail, but not like, you know, a lazy ponytail. Do one of those ponytails where you like tease the hair on the crown of your head and you know, make it a little high, and you know, all that stuff. It's a ridiculous standard, right? But it's possible to write that, and it's not that hard to write that. And when you write a heroine like that, then the idea is that the reader can write herself onto this person. So she's going to root for this person because you give the heroine high stakes and you make her likable, and then you're done, right? Because the really interesting person then becomes the hero. And the hero is the person who's allowed to have some complexity, and he's the person who's allowed to be complicated and difficult and unlikable, and he's the person who's allowed to make bad decisions, and he's the person who's allowed to be afraid but not too afraid. I mean, heroes have rules too, but they're different. They have a different set. And okay, so that's the easy way to do it. And then the other way to do it is the way that I am inevitably drawn to, which is to think about heroines as people, and to try not to pay too much attention to this whole sense in which heroines have to have permission, that they can only behave in ways that they have permission to behave. And that permission comes from the reader, and that permission comes from genre conventions, and the permission is like hanging over every decision that you make as you shape this character. Like, do we have permission to write heroines who are fat? Well, how fat can they be? Like, how many pounds can a heroine weigh before she's like over the permission line, and we don't have permission to write about that kind of person? Can she be skinny? How skinny can she be? Can she have an eating disorder? How bad of an eating disorder? Can it only be this bad but not that bad? Can she be unhappy but not depressed? How depressed could she be? If she's grieving, how long is she allowed to grieve? Like, what are the correct ways to grieve and the incorrect ways to grieve? And you know, can she be ambitious? How ambitious? Like, where's the permission line in terms of like heroine ambition? And you know, if she has no ambition, like how unambitious is she allowed to be? What are the rules that shape permission around this person? So, when I write heroines, I try just to think of them as humans, because I'm interested in humans, and I'm particularly interested in humans who make mistakes, and who make mistakes with awareness that they are making mistakes. This is something I've been interested in for a long time, and you can see it in my heroines all the way back. If you look at Kath in About Last Night, which was my second novel that was published, but it was actually, I wrote it before Ride With Me, that Mary Catherine Tallarico is kind of a thesis statement about mistakes. She's fascinated with her own mistakes, and she's terrified of making them. But throughout the course of the story is about someone who's certain that she's making mistakes, and she does it anyway. And the hero of that story, Neville, is really the person who gives her permission to make them, and tries to convince her that she's not making a mistake. Okay, so just to turn to Ashley for a minute, what I'm really interested in with Ashley is, well, a lot of things, but I said in an earlier video that I thought of her as being, you know, kind of the embodiment of the Florida Keys. And I think the Keys are really about permission, right? I mean, this is a culture that's about, it's a kind of anything goes culture. Like the idea is that you should go down there and you should put on your bikini, and it shouldn't matter how you look, and it shouldn't matter, nothing should matter but what you want and how you feel, and you have permission to relax in this place, you have permission to be yourself, you have permission to just let it all hang out, because anything goes, right? And so to my mind, like, this is the culture that Ashley came up in. This is the culture that her grandma introduced her to. And so Ashley is living with certain kinds of permission internalized. But in other ways, she's just like a completely lost soul. And you'll see that, you know, even more so in episodes 4 and 5. So there are a lot of things that Ashley permits herself that, you know, it's possible that readers don't feel that she has permission to do. There are actions she takes that are uncomfortable or can be uncomfortable. And I think what's interesting there is this whole separation between, like, what permission the reader will give Ashley, what permission do you give her as you're reading, and what permission the story gives Ashley. And in particular, in a story like this, you get 2 points of view, right? You get Ashley's and you get Roman's. So you have to ask, like, how much permission is Roman giving her? What is he permitting to her, and what is she forcing him to do, and what is he doing because he wants to? Because I think, you know, there's a way in which this story is propelled forward by the idea that Ashley is forcing Roman to do X, Y, and Z. But all of that is a conceit, and I think it's a pretty obvious conceit, because if you even stop for a moment and say, you know, why was he so nice to her on the palm tree? Why did he permit her to stay there at all? Why did he facilitate that? Why did he agree to give her a ride? Why did he drive her all the way to Georgia? Why did he stay at this commune? Why didn't he just rent a car or call a cab and get the hell out of there? I think that you have to ask, like, how much, what is Roman permitting Ashley? And what is the text permitting Ashley? What is Ashley permitting herself? And then, you know, kind of compare that to your own expectations or your own assumptions about what you think a woman should be permitted, and where did those conventions come from? So, you know, all of that I think is in play here in this story, and I expect that for some people it's in play in ways that are uncomfortable, and then for other people it's in play in ways that are completely comfortable, and that has to do with what kind of permission, you know, you give to yourself, and what kind of permission you give to characters and stories, and also why you're reading romance and what you want from it. So this was this was way too many words on this subject. Probably too long a video, so I'm going to stop now. But thanks for reading, and I'll be interested to hear what you have to say. Bye.